All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another deep dive.
Yeah, welcome back.
You know, if you're here, you're probably not just starting out with English.
Right.
I mean, you've been working at it.
Right.
I imagine you have a pretty decent foundation you can get by in most situations.
Absolutely.
But
You're here for more, right?
I think so, yeah. You're listening to this because you want more.
Yeah, you want to take it to that next level.
Right.
You want to sound
More
natural.
You're natural.
You want to sound like a native speaker.
Exactly.
You want to have that fluency.
Yeah.
That real natural, effortless flow.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today in this deep dive.
So we've got 6
Hacks.
hacks,
that's
tips,
terrible.
tricks, techniques,
Strategies.
all that good stuff
Yeah.
to help you get there.
All right, so the first one we're going to be talking about is this idea of translating in your head.
Oh, yeah. This is a big one.
Yeah. So if you're always thinking in your native language and then translating into English, it's going to slow you down.
Oh, for sure.
It's going to make you sound less natural.
Totally.
So what we want to do is we want to retrain your brain.
Rewire it.
Yeah. Rewire it to think directly in English.
So instead of thinking in your native language and then translating, you're just thinking in English straight away.
Right.
Boom.
So how do you do that?
Well, you know, one way to kind of start to make that shift is just by describing your surroundings in English. Like wherever you are right now, just look around and start talking to yourself in English.
Like I'm sitting in a studio.
Yeah, I'm looking out the window. I see.
I see a microphone.
Yeah, just simple things like that.
Easy. Yeah.
Another good one is to debate with yourself in English.
Ooh.
So this is
I like that.
this is kind of fun.
I do that already.
You do.
Yeah. I have arguments with myself.
But you do it in English now, right?
Well, sometimes, I guess now that you mentioned, I do sometimes do it in other languages.
But try and do it in English. Because what that does is it gets you thinking about different perspectives.
Right.
And you're forced to use
Different vocabularies.
different vocabulary, different grammatical structures.
Exactly.
And it just gets the wheels turning.
Yeah. I like that. In English.
Okay, good tip.
Another thing you can do is something called the 5-minute rule.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah. Have you ever tried it?
I think so. I'm not sure.
So this is where like every hour you just spend 5 minutes thinking only in English.
Okay.
No other languages allowed.
This is 5 minutes every hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can set like a reminder on your phone.
Ooh, that's enough.
Like, think in English now or something like that.
Time to think in English.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
And then also, try to actually use English to like solve problems or make decisions throughout your day.
Okay.
So like, for example, if you're trying to decide what to have for lunch, instead of, thinking about it in your native language and then translating, just think, what do I want for lunch?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kind of in the mood for a salad
Yeah, maybe a salad.
or maybe a sandwich.
A sandwich sounds good.
Yeah.
Right, so you're just making those decisions in English.
Right.
So by doing all of this, you're basically training your brain
Yes.
to process information in English more and more automatically.
And the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Right. And eventually it'll just become second nature.
Awesome.
Okay, so hack number 2 is all about pronunciation.
Okay.
Now you might think, okay, I've got pronunciation down.
Yeah.
People understand me.
Right.
But
do you sound like a native speaker?
yeah, do you really sound natural?
Right.
And one of the best ways to improve your pronunciation and to really sound more natural is to use a technique called shadowing.
Shadowing.
Yes.
What is that?
So shadowing is where you basically listen to a native English speaker
Okay.
and you repeat what they say.
Oh, so I'm like their shadow.
Yeah, you're like their shadow. So you're not just listening passively. You're actively repeating and you're trying to imitate
Their pronunciation.
their pronunciation, their intonation,
Okay.
their rhythm,
I see.
everything.
So I can shadow you right now?
You can shadow me.
Can I?
Good.
So I'm like your shadow.
Yeah.
So I'm like their shadow.
You're like their shadow,
Okay, got it.
but try to do it at the same time.
Oh, okay. So at the same time, so I'm like their shadow.
We're like their shadow.
You're like their shadow.
You like their shadow.
Okay, I think I'm getting it.
Yeah, you're getting there.
It's hard.
It is hard, but it's really effective.
Okay.
And you can shadow anything.
Okay.
You can shadow podcasts,
So that talks.
TED Talks, audiobooks, movies.
It's deep dive.
This deep dive.
Okay, cool.
And then you can also combine shadowing with something called speed training.
Speed training.
Yes.
So I'm going fast.
So basically you're just reading out loud,
Okay.
but you're reading faster than your comfortable pace.
Oh, okay. So I'm pushing myself to
You're pushing yourself
go faster
to go faster
than I normally would.
than you normally would. And it feels a little bit uncomfortable at first,
Yeah, probably.
but it helps you to train your mouth muscles.
Oh, okay.
and your brain
To move faster.
to process things faster,
Yeah.
and to produce the sounds more quickly.
Yeah, that's that.
So, some good ways to practice this are using movie scripts. You can act out scenes,
Go ahead.
try to keep up with the actors.
Okay.
You can also record yourself reading something and then listen back to it
Okay.
and compare it to a native speaker reading the same thing.
Okay.
So you can really hear where you need to improve.
Yeah, great tip.
Okay, hack number 3 is all about grammar.
Grammar,
Yes?
everyone's favorite.
I know it can be a little bit dry.
But important.
It is important.
It is.
And even at an advanced level, you might find that you're still making the same small mistakes over and over again.
Oh, yeah, those little things that just keep tripping you up.
Exactly.
Okay.
So one of the best ways to get rid of these mistakes is to use a technique called error tracking.
Error tracking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a really good way to do error tracking is to keep an error journal.
An error journal.
Yeah.
I need to get one of those.
You should.
I do.
It's basically just a notebook where you write down every time you make a mistake.
Okay, so every time I make a mistake, I write it down.
Every time.
Okay.
And then you write the correct version next to it.
Oh, okay, so I can see the mistake and then I can see how to correct it.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And then what you do is you review your error journal regularly.
Regularly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you practice saying the correct sentences out loud
Out loud
until they become automatic.
until they become natural.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're basically training your brain.
To recognize the correct patterns.
Yeah.
Oh.
And to produce them without even thinking about it.
Got it.
And a really good tip here is to ask a tutor or a native speaker to listen to you speak and to point out any mistakes that they notice.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, because sometimes we don't even realize we're making mistakes,
Right.
especially if they're small mistakes.
Yeah, and those small mistakes can make a big difference.
They can.
Yeah.
So by focusing on those small mistakes and really getting rid of them,
You can improve your fluency a lot.
you can.
Yeah. Okay, I like this error journal idea.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I'm going to start doing that.
Okay, so hack number 4 is all about vocabulary.
Vocabulary.
Now, you probably already know a lot of words,
Right.
but do you know how to use them naturally?
Ah, that's the key, isn't it?
That's the key.
It's not just about knowing the words.
Yeah.
It's about knowing how to use them.
It's about knowing how to use them correctly.
Correctly and naturally.
Yeah, naturally.
Like a native speaker.
Like a native speaker.
Okay.
So one of the best ways to do this is to learn collocations.
Collocations.
Yes.
What are those?
Collocations are words that go together naturally.
Okay.
So for example,
Give me an example.
you would say, make a decision,
Make a decision.
not do a decision.
Not do a decision.
Right. Even though both of those words technically mean the same thing.
Make and do.
Yeah.
Okay, but make a decision sounds more natural.
It sounds more natural.
Okay.
And that's because it's a collocation.
Oh, I see.
So native speakers just automatically know these collocations
Right.
because they've been exposed to them their whole lives, so they don't have to think about it.
It just sounds right.
It just sounds right.
Okay.
But as English learners, we have to make a conscious effort to learn these collocations.
Okay. So how do we do that?
Well, one way is to use a collocation dictionary.
A collocation dictionary.
Yeah,
Is that a real thing?
it's a real thing.
Wow.
You can find them online or you can buy them.
Okay.
And they basically just list all the words that commonly go together.
Okay.
So you can look up a word,
Uh-huh.
then it'll show you all the other words that it often collocates with.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then another good way to learn collocations is to just pay attention when you're reading or listening to English
Okay.
and notice which words tend to go together.
So just be more aware.
Yeah, just be more aware.
Okay.
And then you can also try to use those collocations in your own speaking and writing.
Okay. So make a conscious effort.
Yeah,
Use them.
to use them.
Okay.
And then in addition to collocations, there are also idioms,
Idioms.
which are kind of like collocations, but they're a little bit more complex.
Okay.
So idioms are phrases
Mm.
that have a figurative meaning
Okay.
that's different from the literal meaning of the words.
So the meaning is not obvious
Not up
from the individual word.
Yeah, okay.
So for example,
Give me an example.
the idiom kick the bucket
Kick the bucket.
means to die.
Ooh,
But if you just looked at the words kick and bucket,
you wouldn't know that it meant to die.
you wouldn't know that it meant to die.
Okay, so idioms are tricky.
They can be tricky.
Yeah. But they're also really important
Why?
because they're used all the time in natural English.
Oh.
So if you want to sound like a native speaker,
I need to learn idioms
you need to learn idioms.
Okay.
And the best way to learn idioms is in context.
in context.
Yeah, so by reading and listening to a lot of English
Say.
and paying attention to how idioms are used,
Got it.
And then you can also try to use them yourself in your own speaking and writing.
Okay.
Okay, so hack number 5 is all about conversation skills.
Conversation skills.
Yes.
Okay.
So, you might know a lot of grammar.
Right.
You might have a big vocabulary.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actually having a conversation, you might freeze up.
Oh, yeah. I've been there.
Yeah.
I know what to say in my head, but then when I try to say it out loud.
It just doesn't come out.
Yeah.
Or it comes out all wrong.
Exactly.
So what can you do about that?
Well,
One thing you can do is to practice having conversations with yourself.
with myself. So like talking to the mirror.
Talking to the mirror.
Okay.
Or just talking out loud to no one in particular.
Okay.
And you can practice different scenarios.
Scenarios.
Yeah, like imagine that you're
At a restaurant.
at a restaurant ordering food.
Okay.
Or imagine that you're at a job interview.
Uh-huh.
Or imagine that you're just meeting someone for the first time.
Okay.
And practice what you would say in those situations.
So kind of like role playing.
Yeah, you're role playing.
Okay.
And the more you practice, the more confident you'll feel.
When the real situation happens.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you can also record yourself
Oh, yeah.
and then listen back to it.
So I can hear how I sound.
So you can hear how you sound
Okay.
and you can identify any areas where you need to improve.
Yeah, like if I'm hesitating a lot.
Yeah,
Or if I'm using the wrong words.
exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so hack number 6 is all about immersion.
Immersion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So immersion is basically just surrounding yourself with English as much as possible.
So like living in an English-speaking country.
That's the best way to do it.
But I can't do that.
I know, but you can still create an immersive environment for yourself,
Even if I don't live in an English-speaking country.
even if you don't live in an English-speaking country.
Okay.
So there are all sorts of things you can do.
Like what?
You can listen to English music.
Yeah.
You can watch English movies and TV shows.
Huh.
You can read English books and articles.
Okay.
You can talk to English speakers online.
Yeah.
You can even change the language on your phone and computer to English.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
So just make English a part of your daily life
As much as possible.
as much as possible.
Okay.
And the more you do it, the more natural it will become.
And the more fluent I'll become.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
6 hacks
6 hacks for advanced English learners.
to improve their fluency.
And remember,
That.
the key is to be consistent.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Practice every day.
Practice every day.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
And you'll get there.
You'll get there.
I believe in you.
And just one last thing.
What?
Don't be afraid to push yourself outside of your comfort zone.
Okay.
Like, try talking to native speakers.
Even if I'm nervous.
Even if you're nervous,
Okay.
try watching movies without subtitles.
Ooh, that's hard.
I know it's hard,
But I'll try.
but it's good for you.
Okay.
And, just keep challenging yourself
Yeah.
to use English in new and different ways.
I like it.
So, for example, how do you usually practice English?
Well, I like to listen to podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
And I also try to talk to native speakers whenever I get the chance.
That's great.
Yeah, it's hard, but it's good
It
practice.
is good practice.
And what about you?
Well, I like to read books and articles in English.
Mm-hmm.
And I also try to watch movies and TV shows without subtitles.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It is tough, but it's really helpful.
It is.
All right, so that's it for this deep dive.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
And I hope you learned something new.
I learned a lot.
Good.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions or comments,
Or any suggestions for future deep dives.
yeah, definitely let us know.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
And until next time,
Happy English learning.
keep practicing.
And stay fluent.
Bye for now. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back for another deep dive. We always get a lot of questions from our intermediate learners, people who have the basics down, but really want to break through to that next level of fluency and confidence. So today, we're going to really unpack some smart, effective hacks that can help you accelerate your English learning and just make the whole process a lot more fun and rewarding.
Exactly. You get a good foundation. You're comfortable with the basics. Now it's about fine-tuning, finding those little shortcuts that make a huge difference. We've gone through a ton of material, research different techniques, and our mission here is to pull out those golden nuggets, those practical strategies that you can actually start using right away.
Exactly. No more feeling stuck in that intermediate plateau, right? We want to get you guys talking smoothly, confidently, and feeling good about it. And to help you do that, we've got 6 key hacks that we're going to be diving deep into today.
Okay, so hack number 1. Let's talk about vocabulary, because so many learners get stuck in that cycle of just memorizing word lists. You make flashcards, you drill, you try to cram all these individual words into your head. But then when it comes to actually using them, they just don't seem to flow naturally.
It's like you've got all the ingredients, but you don't have the recipe, right? You're missing that context, that understanding of how the words actually work together in real sentences and conversations. So instead of just focusing on isolated words like, let's say, improve, skills, fluency, this first hack is all about learning words within their natural habitat, so to speak.
What we mean by that is, think about the difference between learning the word improve in isolation versus learning the phrase, I want to improve my speaking skills.
Yeah.
You're not just getting a dictionary definition, you're seeing how it connects to other words, to actions, to a whole idea.
Absolutely. And the same goes for a word like fluency. Sure, you can memorize the definition, but when you encounter it in a sentence like, fluency takes time, but consistent practice makes perfect, you get a much richer understanding of its meaning and how it relates to other concepts like practice and, well, perfection.
The really cool thing is, our brains are actually wired to remember things better when they're embedded in a context. It's like those memory techniques where you link information to a vivid image or a story. When you learn words within sentences and phrases, you're automatically creating those connections.
Okay, so let's make this practical. Our first tip here is to really make an effort to encounter new words within stories, dialogues, things that you actually enjoy reading or listening to. So instead of just passively going through a vocabulary list, pick up a short story in English, even a children's book if you're starting out, and highlight any interesting words you come across. Then, don't just look up the definition in isolation, read the whole sentence, maybe even the paragraph around it, to really see how it's being used.
That's a great starting point. And to really take it a step further, there's a really powerful technique called sentence mining. Here's how it works. When you come across a new word, instead of just writing it down, write down the entire sentence where you found it. This captures the context, the way the word is used naturally.
So for example, let's say you're reading a blog post about language learning, and you come across the sentence, one of the biggest challenges for intermediate learners is achieving fluency in spoken English. Now, instead of just noting down fluency, you've got that whole sentence as a reference point.
Exactly. You're not just translating it in your head, you're seeing it in action, connected to specific ideas like challenges, learners, spoken English. And then here's the key. Once you have that sentence, try to create 5 new sentences of your own, using that word fluency in different ways, but still keeping that original context in mind.
That's a great way to really cement that word in your memory and start to internalize how it works in different situations. It's like taking a new tool and practicing using it in different ways until it becomes second nature.
Right. And speaking of practice, that brings us to our second hack, which is all about mastering pronunciation and getting your mouth to actually cooperate with what you know in your head.
This is something we hear a lot from intermediate learners. I understand English when I hear it, I can read it pretty well, but when I try to speak, it just doesn't sound right. And that can be super frustrating because you feel like you're stuck.
It is frustrating. And there's a technique called shadowing that can really help with this. It's about training your mouth and your ear to work together more effectively, almost like you're becoming a vocal mimic of native speakers.
So what you do is you find a short piece of audio, maybe a TED Talk, a part of a podcast, or even a scene from a movie where the dialogue is pretty clear. Listen to it once just to get the gist of what's being said, then listen again, and this time try to repeat what the speaker is saying almost simultaneously.
Like you're their shadow, right? It might feel a little strange at first, but the key is to really pay attention to the details. Try to match not just the words, but the rhythm, the intonation, those little pauses and stresses that give spoken English its natural flow.
For practice material, TED Talks are often excellent because the speakers are usually very clear and articulate. There are also tons of great podcasts out there featuring native English speakers talking about all sorts of interesting topics.
And don't worry if you can't keep up perfectly at first. It's totally normal to feel a bit clumsy or to stumble over words in the beginning. Start slowly, maybe break the audio down into shorter phrases or sentences. As you get more comfortable, you can gradually increase the speed and complexity.
In fact, we can try a little shadowing exercise right now. Listen to this sentence and try to repeat it along with me. Today, we're learning how to improve English fast.
Did you notice how the speaker emphasized the word fast? Try to capture those little nuances. That's how you start to internalize the natural rhythm of the language.
All right, let's move on to hack number 3, which is all about thinking directly in English. This is a really big one because so many learners get stuck in the habit of translating everything in their heads.
It's a really common trap. And it can really slow you down when you're trying to speak. It's like having a constant mental delay, You have a thought in your native language, you translate it word for word into English, and then finally you speak.
Exactly. And that translation process, while it might feel natural at first, can actually prevent you from expressing yourself smoothly and confidently in English. It creates this mental barrier that you need to break through.
So how do you do that? Well, the key is to start training your brain to think in English as much as possible. Sounds a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it's really about creating those direct connections between thoughts, ideas, and English words and phrases.
A good way to start is by simply describing your everyday actions in English, even if you're just talking to yourself. As you're making breakfast, think, okay, I'm pouring some cereal, now I'm adding milk, I need a spoon. It might feel a bit silly at first, but it's building that habit of thinking directly in English without that translation step.
Another really good technique is to start keeping a short diary or journal in English. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, just 3 to 5 sentences each day about what you did, how you're feeling, anything that's on your mind.
And don't be afraid to talk to yourself in English. Narrate what you're doing. Describe what you see around you. I'm walking to the store. It's a sunny day. There's a lot of traffic today. It's like becoming your own personal English commentator.
The more you do this, the more natural it will start to feel. To illustrate the difference, think about the wrong way. The wrong way is, I'm hungry, translate, I want to eat. The right way, you would just think, oh man, I'm starving, what's for dinner?
So you're literally changing the way your brain processes language. And the more you practice thinking in English, the easier it will be to speak it fluently and naturally.
Okay, hack number 4. This one is all about grammar, which can be a bit of a sticking point for a lot of learners. We want to help you get past that fear of making mistakes and start using grammar in a way that's both correct and natural sounding. We call it the 1, 2, 3 method.
It's a really simple framework, but super effective. Step 1. You start with a basic, simple sentence. It might feel a little bare bones, but it's likely to be grammatically sound. For example, I go to work at 9 a.m. Short, sweet, and to the point.
Then in step 2, you start adding some details, some complexity to that basic sentence. You can use adverbs, add clauses, explain why. So our simple sentence could become, I usually go to work at 9 a.m. because my office opens at 9:30. See how we've added some more information, made it a bit more interesting?
And then step 3 is where you really polish it up, make it sound more natural and expressive, like something a native speaker would actually say. So we might transform our sentence into, I'm usually at the office by 9 a.m. It's just kind of a habit now. That little phrase at the end adds a touch of personality, makes it flow more smoothly.
Exactly. And the best way to practice this is to take a basic sentence, any sentence that comes to mind, and try to rewrite it in those 3 different ways. Step 1, simple core. Step 2, add some details. Step 3, make it natural and expressive.
Let's try a quick example. The basic sentence is, I like reading. So step 1, I like reading. Step 2, adding some details. I enjoy reading books in my free time. And finally, step 3, making it more natural. Whenever I have some free time, I love to curl up with a good book. It's so relaxing.
See how we gradually build on that simple foundation? That's the beauty of the 1, 2, 3 method. You're internalizing those grammar patterns in a way that feels natural, not like you're memorizing a bunch of rules.
Now, for hack number 5, we're going to address a big one. Confidence. You can study, you can learn grammar, you can expand your vocabulary, but if you're not feeling confident when you speak, it can hold you back.
Absolutely. Confidence is key. And a really powerful way to build confidence is to actually record yourself speaking English and then compare it to how native speakers sound. I know hearing your own recorded voice can be a little cringeworthy, but trust me, it's an incredibly valuable tool.
It really is. So here's how you do it. Choose a short piece of audio, maybe a segment from a podcast or a news report, something where the speaker is talking clearly and naturally, then read that same passage aloud yourself and record it. Once you have both recordings, listen to them back to back and compare.
Pay attention to your pronunciation. Are you hitting those sounds correctly? How about your speaking speed? Are you rushing? Are you dragging? And listen to your intonation, the way your voice rises and falls. Does it sound natural? Engaging?
A good tip here is to try to make this a weekly practice. Choose a different audio clip each week and go through that process of listening, recording, and comparing. You'll be amazed at how much improvement you'll hear over time.
And if you're feeling really brave, find a conversation partner. It could be a friend who's a native speaker, a language exchange partner, even just someone who's a bit more advanced in English than you. They can give you feedback on your pronunciation, your fluency, and just generally help you feel more comfortable speaking.
Here's a little example of how this might come up in conversation. Someone might say, have you ever tried recording yourself speaking English? And you could respond, I used to be terrified to do that, but I actually started doing it a few weeks ago, and honestly, I've already noticed a big difference in my pronunciation.
See, it's all about pushing yourself a little bit outside your comfort zone. And the more you practice, the more confident you'll become. You'll start to recognize those areas where you need to improve, and you'll also be able to celebrate your progress.
All right, for our final hack, we're going to talk about something that can be a game changer, especially for learners who feel a bit overwhelmed by the vastness of the English language. It's all about applying the 80-20 rule to your learning.
The 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle, basically says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. So, in the context of English learning, this means focusing on the most frequently used words and phrases, the core vocabulary that native speakers use every single day.
Instead of trying to learn every word in the dictionary, which would take forever, you're strategically focusing on the words and phrases that will give you the biggest bang for your buck.
What kind of vocabulary are we talking about? Well, definitely those super common versatile verbs like get, take, make, have, go, do. They pop up everywhere. Learn those inside and out, and you'll be able to express yourself in so many different situations.
And then there are those everyday phrases that we use all the time, things like, that sounds good, or I'm not sure about that. These are like prefabricated building blocks that can instantly make your English sound more natural and fluent.
Idioms and common expressions also fall into this crucial 20%. While there are tons of idioms out there, start by focusing on the ones you hear most often, like, let's call it a day, or break a leg. Understanding and using these correctly can really elevate your English.
A really practical tip here is to think about the 20 most common phrases you use in your own native language on a daily basis. The things you say almost without thinking. Then make it a goal to learn exactly how to say those same things in English.
For example, you might say things like, what do you mean? Or let me think about it for a second. Or, oh no, I'm running late, all the time. Mastering the English equivalents of those phrases will give you a huge boost in fluency and confidence.
So there you have it, our 6 smart learning hacks to help you break through that intermediate plateau and really level up your English. Just to recap quickly, number 1, learn words in context, not in isolation. Number 2, use shadowing to fine-tune your pronunciation. Number 3, start thinking in English as much as possible. Number 4, master the 1-2-3 method for grammar. Number 5, record yourself speaking and compare it to native speakers. And number 6, apply the 80-20 rule to your learning.
And just one final bonus tip before we wrap up, make it fun. Look for opportunities to actually use your English in real-world situations. Order your coffee in English, chat with a tourist, switch your phone's language settings to English. The more you immerse yourself in the language, the faster you'll learn.
Here's a little example of how these hacks might come up in a conversation. Someone might ask, what's the best way to improve my spoken English? And you could say, well, I've been using shadowing a lot, and it's really helps my pronunciation. I also try to record myself speaking once a week to see how I'm doing. And then they might say, that's a great idea. I'm trying to think in English more these days. It's definitely a challenge, but it makes a big difference.
Exactly. Those little changes in your mindset, in your approach, can have a huge impact on your progress. So keep practicing these hacks, make them a part of your routine, and you'll be amazed at how far you can go.
That's it for today's deep dive. As always, it was awesome exploring these ideas with you. We'll be back soon with more tips and strategies to help you on your English learning journey. And hey, if there are any topics you'd love us to cover in future episodes, let us know. We're always open to suggestions.
Absolutely. Keep those questions coming. We love hearing from you. Until next time, happy learning, everyone.
See you soon. All right, so starting English, it can feel like being hit by a wave.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But what if there is a way to learn smarter,
Yeah.
Today, we're going to dive deep into this guide.
Okay.
All about learning hacks just for beginners.
Nice.
And hopefully we can figure out how to help you learn faster and more confidently.
Sounds good.
That's
Good to dig into this.
Me too. So we can forget those endless grammar exercises.
Urge. Yeah.
Or memorizing tons of words.
Please, no more lists of words.
Instead, we're focusing on the most useful tips for beginners.
That's what we're here for.
Exactly. And how to stay motivated while learning.
So important. You can get discouraged easily.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started with the first hack.
Let's do it.
This one's all about vocab.
Okay.
So usually beginners try to memorize a bunch of single words.
Right. Just try to remember as many as possible.
But this guide recommends something very different.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. Let's hear it.
Instead of single words,
Yeah.
you should learn whole phrases.
That's interesting. So instead of memorizing go by itself,
Exactly.
you'd learn it in a sentence like, I need to go to the store.
You got it.
So you're learning go, but also all the other words that go with it.
Precisely. And think about it, knowing go and store separately doesn't really tell you how to use them together.
That's true. I guess I never thought about it that way.
So this way your brain gets all the context.
Makes sense. It's like seeing the whole picture, not just a piece of it.
And our brains naturally learn language in chunks anyway.
So it's kind of tapping into that natural way of learning.
That's the idea. And the guide even says that this helps you sound more like a native speaker.
Oh, because you're learning the phrases they actually use?
Exactly. And it gives us a really practical tip, too.
I love a good practical tip. Let's hear it.
Write short sentences with the new phrases.
Okay.
Then say them out loud.
So you're not just reading them.
Right. You're using your mouth and ears to really learn the sounds.
I like that. It's way more active than just looking at words on a page.
And the guide even gives us a sample conversation.
Okay, let's hear it.
So person A asks, "What are you doing?"
Okay, simple enough.
And person B replies, "I'm going to the store to buy some groceries."
I see. So in just that one sentence, you might learn like 5 new words.
Exactly. And you're learning them in a natural way.
So you're not just memorizing words, you're learning how to actually use them.
That's the goal. Okay, let's move on to hack number 2.
All right, I'm ready.
This one's about listening,
Okay, important skill.
but they call it listening like a baby.
Listening like a baby. That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, so basically think about how babies learn language.
They just listen all the time, right?
Right, they spend months just absorbing sounds before they even try to speak.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
So the idea is to do the same with English.
Just soak it all up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Find some easy English content.
Like what kind of things?
Podcasts for beginners, YouTube channels with simple English, even audiobooks for learners.
I see. So stuff that's not too difficult to understand.
Yeah, and the point isn't to understand every single word at first.
But what's the point then?
It's more about getting used to the sounds of English.
So getting familiar with how it all sounds.
Yeah, like the intonation, the rhythm of the language.
Okay, that makes sense. And then once you're comfortable with the sounds?
Then you can start focusing on understanding the words.
Okay. And how do you actually practice this?
So the guide recommends listening every day,
That sounds doable.
even just for a few minutes.
Okay, better than nothing, right?
Exactly. And they also emphasize the importance of repeating what you hear.
Oh, so not just passively listening.
Right. You got to actively practice the sounds.
So you're not just understanding the words, you're learning how to say them too.
Precisely. And they have a specific technique for this.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It's called shadowing.
Shadowing, like following someone around?
Well, sort of. You listen to the speaker and then immediately try to copy what they're saying.
Oh, wow. So like mimicking their pronunciation and everything.
Exactly. You're basically their shadow trying to sound exactly like them.
Interesting. I can see how that would help with your accent.
For sure. And the guide gives a little example.
Let's hear.
I want to be fluent in English.
Okay, Keji.
And they tell you to repeat it exactly like that.
So you're training your mouth to make the right sounds.
Yeah. And it might seem simple, but this kind of repetition can make a huge difference.
Makes sense. The more you practice, the more natural it'll sound.
All right, ready for hack number 3?
Hit me with it.
This one's all about efficiency.
Ooh, I love efficiency. Let's be real, we all have limited time.
Exactly. And it's based on something called the 80-20 rule.
The 80-20 rule, I've heard of that. What's it all about?
Well, basically it means that 80% of the results come from 20% of the effort.
Oh, interesting. So like a small amount of work can have a big impact.
Exactly. And in terms of language learning, it means that 20% of the words are used 80% of the time.
So you should focus on learning those most common words first.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
all about prioritizing.
Okay, that makes sense. Instead of wasting time on obscure words you'll never use.
Right. You're focusing on the words that will actually help you communicate.
Smart. Okay, so with your words should we be learning?
Well, the guide gives us some great examples, common verbs like go get, make, take, have,
Okay, those are definitely useful.
and useful phrases like how's it going or what do you do?
The basics of small talk.
And then everyday vocabulary related to things like morning food, work, family.
Those are words you'd use all the time.
Exactly. So the idea is to master this core vocabulary first.
So you can start understanding and speaking in basic conversations.
Right. It's like laying the foundation for more advanced learning later on.
Makes sense. And how do we practice this?
So the guide recommends writing down 10 common phrases every day.
All right, so like a daily vocab list.
Yeah, and then practice saying them out loud.
So you're not just writing them, you're using them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they also suggest using flashcards.
Good old flashcards.
They're a classic for a reason. They really help you memorize.
And the guide gives some good examples of phrases, too.
Yeah, things like, can you help me? I don't understand. What's your name? How much does it cost?
Those are definitely phrases you'd use all the time.
Exactly. So if you master these, you'll sound more fluent much faster.
Because you'll be able to handle basic interactions.
Precisely. All right, on to hack number 4.
Bring it on.
This one might be a bit scary for some people.
Uh-oh. What is it?
It's all about speaking.
Yeah. That can be intimidating, especially for beginners.
And the advice is pretty blunt. Speak from day one.
Whoa, hold on. From day one. But what if I don't know enough words yet?
That's the thing. A lot of beginners wait too long to start speaking.
Because they're scared of making mistakes.
Exactly. But the guide says that's a huge mistake.
Oh, why is that?
Because language learning is all about using the language.
So you have to actually speak it to learn it.
That's the idea. And even if you only know a few words, you can still start speaking.
But what should I talk about?
Well, the guide suggests talking to yourself.
Talk to myself. Like narrate my life.
Exactly. Like, I am making coffee, or now I am going to work.
Okay. That sounds kind of weird, but I guess it would help.
It's a good way to practice without feeling self-conscious.
And then once you're more comfortable talking to yourself,
You can start looking for language partners.
people to practice with.
Exactly, like friends or tutors or even apps for language exchange.
So you can have actual conversation.
Yeah, and even if you make mistakes, that's okay.
It's part of the learning process.
And the guide even gives us a sample conversation.
Okay, let's hear it.
So A asks, do you like coffee?
Simple question.
And B replies, yes, I drink coffee every morning.
See, not perfect grammar, but it gets the point across.
Exactly. And that's what matters at this stage.
Just being able to communicate.
All right, ready for hack number 5?
Lay it on me.
This one's about changing the way you think.
My mind is ready to be blown.
So it's all about learning to think in English.
Instead of translating from my native language.
You got it.
But that's hard. I always catch myself translating in my head.
It's a natural habit, but it actually slows you down.
Oh, why is that?
Because you're basically adding an extra step to everything.
I guess that makes sense.
So the guide says we need to create direct associations.
Between objects and their English names.
Exactly. So instead of seeing a chair and thinking of the word in your native language.
I should just think chair.
Precisely. And the same goes for everything else. Table, book, window.
So it's like building a mental shortcut.
That's a good way to put it. And you can practice this by making simple sentences in your head.
Like throughout the day.
Yeah, just little things like, I'm hungry, or it's cold today.
Okay, that seems doable.
And the guide recommends starting with just 1 minute of thinking in English,
So like a mini mental workout.
and then gradually increase it to 5 minutes.
So you're slowly training your brain to think in English.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And over time, it'll become more natural.
So I won't have to translate everything anymore.
And the guide gives a helpful example of how this works.
All right, tell me more.
So the wrong way is to think, I need to say I'm hungry in my language first, and then translate it.
Oh yeah, that's totally what I do.
But the right way is to just think, I'm hungry, I want a sandwich.
Wow. So much more direct.
And that directness is key for fluency.
Makes sense. The less you translate, the faster you'll be.
Okay, on to our final hack.
The grand finale. I'm ready.
This one's all about consistency.
Consistency, the key to success.
They say it's more important than long study sessions.
So it's better to study a little bit every day.
Exactly, like 15 minutes a day is better than 2 hours once a week.
I like the sound of that. More manageable.
And they also suggest setting small, achievable goals,
Like what kind of goals?
like learning 5 new words a day,
Okay, that's definitely doable.
or practicing speaking for 5 minutes.
Yeah, those are good starting points.
So you're building momentum without getting overwhelmed.
Makes sense. Small steps lead to big progress.
And they give us some practical tips for making English a daily habit.
I'm all about practical tips. Let's hear them.
So try using English in real life.
Like how?
Write your grocery list in English.
Okay, that's easy enough.
Change the language settings on your phone.
Oh yeah, never thought of that.
Or even just watch one short English video a day.
Okay, I can do that.
And they challenge you to summarize the video in your own words.
So you're actively engaging with the content.
Exactly. You're using your listening and speaking skills.
I like it. It's a fun way to practice.
And the point is that all these small actions add up over time.
So you're constantly reinforcing your learning.
Precisely. And they even have a bonus hack for us.
Ooh, a bonus. I love bonuses.
This one's all about having fun.
Well, that sounds important. Learning should be enjoyable.
Exactly, because if you're not enjoying it, you're less likely to stick with it.
So true. Motivation is key.
And they give us some suggestions for making learning fun.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Watch English TV shows.
Like what kind of shows?
Friends, The Office, anything you find interesting.
So you're entertained while you're learning?
Exactly. And you can pick up new words and phrases naturally.
That's a win-win.
They also suggest playing English games.
There are tons of language learning apps out there.
And you can also read simple books.
Like children's books or comics.
Yeah, anything that's enjoyable and easy to understand.
So you're not getting bogged down by difficult vocabulary.
Right. The point is to find what you like and use that to learn.
So if you love sports, read about sports in English.
Exactly. Make it personal.
And they have a little example conversation.
Okay, let's hear it.
So A asks, what do you like to watch?
And B replies, I love watching movies in English with subtitles.
Simple but effective.
Right. You're learning while doing something you enjoy.
All right, so let's recap those 6 powerful hacks.
Okay. Number 1, learn words and phrases not alone.
Got it.
Number 2, listen actively like a baby.
Absorbing those sounds.
Number 3, use the 80-20 rule. Prioritize the most common words.
Efficiency is key.
Number 4, speak from day 1, even with mistakes.
Don't be afraid to make those mistakes.
Number 5, think in English, bypass translation.
Train that brain.
Number 6, make it a daily habit.
Consistency is king.
And don't forget the bonus hack, make it fun.
Learning should be enjoyable.
And the guide gives us a final conversation to illustrate all this.
Okay, let's hear it.
So A asks, what's your best English learning tip?
Good question.
And B replies, I try to listen to English every day and make an effort to speak as much as possible.
Solid advice.
And then A responds, that's great. I also find it helpful to think in English whenever I can and focus on learning phrases rather than just single words.
See, it all comes together.
Exactly. You're using all the hacks in one conversation.
So if we do all these things, our English will improve faster than we think.
I believe it. It's all about approaching it the right way.
So now that you have all these strategies in your toolbox, what are you most excited to try out?
Ooh, that's a good question. What about you?
I'm really interested in exploring more English idioms.
Oh, yeah, those can be tricky.
They are, but they add so much color to the language.
That's true. I think I'm going to try watching more English TV shows with subtitles.
Good choice. You'll be surprised how much you pick up naturally.
Hopefully I'll even start thinking in English without realizing it.
That's the goal.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And to all our listeners out there, keep practicing and keep having fun with English.
You got this.
Until next time, happy learning.
Bye, everyone.